On today's episode of Found Fox Garage, I'm going to be showing you guys how to put a set of Baja Designs Squadron Sport lights in the factory fog light housings on a 2014 to 2015 Chevy Silverado. Let's do it. What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. The intro you just saw was filmed I don't even know when. This is one of those projects that I went to start that day and thought it was gonna be a lot harder. Didn't do it. Did a lot of other work to the truck, and now we're circling all the way back to this. Today we're gonna be putting the Squadron Sports, by Baja Designs, in the fog light housings of this 2015 Chevy Silverado. And I'm gonna show you guys how I did it. I just got finished taking this bracket out of the truck. If you scroll back on my channel, and you can see when I did this exact same modification to my 2003 Chevy Silverado, it was way easier than this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tear this entire fog light housing assembly apart, and I'm gonna get the Baja Designs light mounted into it, and then I'll show you guys what I did and why I chose to do it that way, and then we'll walk through it a little bit more thoroughly on the passenger side light. So I'm gonna get to taking this apart right now, and we'll get to work. Alrighty guys, so as you can see, we got the driver's side all taken care of. There's a little bit of a trick to not only get the light installed, but then get the whole housing and everything back in there. So I'm gonna give you a quick rundown right now. We just pulled the passenger side light out. So I'm gonna give you a quick rundown. So basically, what you wanna do when you take these lights out, originally I thought that you had to take the entire bumper off the truck. It turns out that you don't. What you will have to do is use a 15mm wrench and or socket. You're gonna have to take out 6 bolts that hold just the fog light housing bracket in, as well as 3 of them that hold one of the support brackets for the bumper. You're gonna wanna pull those out. And then there's going to be this bracket that holds the fender liner in. That is held in by 4 10mm screws. If you take that out, it's gonna make your life a lot easier to get the fog lights in and out of the truck. Once those are out, you can finally wiggle around and remove the entire housing. The entire housing is gonna look like this. So it mounts in like this. So where we're gonna start with these is actually the easiest way I've found. The most minimal amount of modification to the factory housing bracket is actually going to be to, this is one of the original, a little pop-in riv nut style plastic retainers for the 7mm that held this into the metal part of the bracket. So what I did is we're actually going to take a pair of pliers and we're going to pop that out right there, and that will give us our perfect 3/8 inch hole for our new bolt. It's a little bit tricky to get out, but once it pops out, there we go. So once you got that out, I like to hold on to all my factory stuff. You never know when you can reuse it. But once you got it out, it should look something like that. And now we're gonna go ahead and get the light set up with the bracket, and I'm gonna show you the spacers, and then I'm gonna show you how we have to trim this. There is a little bit of trimming involved. Let me first disclaim that with saying that there's a little bit of trimming involved if you want your pod light to sit level in the housing. I noticed when I just did the other side, if you bolt it in without any trimming, it's gonna be a little bit canted off the one side. If you don't care about that, then you can just go ahead and skip ahead in the video. But I want it nice and level with the truck. So I'm gonna show you how to cut a little recess into this plastic housing. It's really simple. All I used was a razor blade with my little Husky handle. It was super easy to cut out the recess. And now the light in the driver's side is even, and now we're gonna do the same to the passenger side. So on the note of the Baja Design Squadron Sports, so here's our beautiful light, as you can see. The Squadron Sports come with a 1-inch, which is kind of cheap bolt. It's all right. For this application, you are going to have to go get, this is a 1-inch bolt. This is gonna be an 1.5 inch long bolt. You can see the difference in the length. You definitely need to go get one of these in order for it to be long enough to go through the plastic, through the bracket, and lock into the nylon nut, which I highly recommend. So for cutting that relief, I'm gonna go ahead and mark it right now, and I'll show you about the shape you wanna cut it in order for the bracket to freely not bind up on the housing here. So this is roughly where you're gonna wanna cut it. You definitely wanna make sure to cut this portion out because this is right about where the bracket wants to ride. And then I ended up cutting up into this portion just a tiny little bit to give it a little bit more room. That way it tightens down on my spacer and my washers and keeps it level with the metal bracket instead of kind of arching with the plastic bracket. So I'm gonna go ahead and start cutting it right now, and I'll show you the finished product when we're done. So now that we got our light mounted in here, I mean, I'm just holding it, it's obviously not mounted, but we're actually gonna take the bracket and the hole that, the little tab that originally goes over here to put that 7mm screw, we're gonna need to drill out to 3/8. It almost is a 3/8, but it's just a little too close, so you gotta waller it out just a tiny bit. So once we waller out that little tab with our 3/8 inch drill bit, we're actually gonna reinstall the plastic housing into the bracket, and then I'll show you how to tighten this down and to secure this, and then we'll get on to trimming our bezel. got it all back together. Bolted in, you can see we did pretty good. We did the little, we did trim a little bit off the fascia just to give it a little bit of extra room so that I can aim it just more precisely. We are engaged into our nylon nut here, as you can see, and we're all back together. So now it's time to put this back in the truck, and then we'll get on to wiring. Alright guys, so we got both sides mounted and it looks pretty great. As you can see, it fit nice and tight into those factory fog light housings. So now what is left is going to be to wire them. So I already have the factory plug unplugged and I unraveled it a little bit. We're going to cut back the tape and figure out which one is power and which one is our ground. I would assume power is probably going to be this orange and what looks like a blue or purple stripe. And then we're going to cut these pigtails off. I know, right? So if you've seen my previous video, you'll know that I had HIDs in my old truck, which allowed me to take the HIDs out and cut the ends of that wire and make a jumper wire between the factory harness and the Baja Design Squadron Sports. Unfortunately, in this truck, I do not have that option. So we are going to be actually just making a solid connection right to the factory harness. But luckily, Baja Design still does come with the plugs and terminal pins in order to allow us to do that. And then I have my handy dandy terminal crimp pliers from work. Gonna hopefully have that help and work on here to crimp on our pins to our factory harness to plug into our Baja Designs lights, and then we will test them out. So let's get to let's get stripping and let's get to wiring up the lights. And that's going to do it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and drop them in the comments below, and I'll try to get to them. I always try to answer you guys back as quickly as I can. And one last note about these lights is do remember that they are super bright. So if you do go ahead and install these ones, I would recommend not using them for on-road use. Baja Designs does offer an SAE style light, which would be a lot better for full-time fog lights. So just keep that in mind, and definitely don't want to blind anyone coming down the road in opposing traffic or as you're coming up. So anyways, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in to Fountain Fox Garage. My name's Eric, and I'll catch you guys next time.